Why do men so often come back? Men who come back, either maybe they pulled away or ghosted you, or just kind of disappeared for a little bit, went cold, and then eventually they came back. Men who maybe they broke up with you or you broke up with them, and they keep coming back into your life over and over again. I hear this from a lot of women where guys, I'll have women tell me things like, I keep breaking up with him, or I keep pushing him away, but he keeps coming back, or he keeps breaking up with me, but then he keeps coming back. And so why do men do this? Why do men come back? Hello, my name is Matthew Coast, and welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about why men come back and 7 different reasons why this happens. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what you should do about it and in different kind of scenarios and situations. So let's start with number 7 first. Number 7 is that he comes back because, and this is a huge one that happens a lot, is because he misses the physical benefits of being with you. And so this happens a lot, right? People are, he's with you and he's getting kind of these physical benefits, and it might be sexual in nature, but it also might just be touch in nature, because a lot of times people outside of relationships, they don't have a lot of touch. They don't have a lot of hugging. They don't have a lot of like laying with somebody else. And so, he might miss hanging out and hooking up and, laying with you or touching you. And he's not getting that anywhere else. And so it's really interesting, because a lot of times when I'm talking about things, a lot of women will be like, oh, if he pulls away, he's with some other woman, he's hooking up with somebody else, he's sleeping with somebody else. And that's sometimes the case, right? That's true sometimes. But for most men, it's very, very difficult to just go out there and find a woman that they want to be with. It's very, very difficult. A lot of times the women that they do find don't live up to the standards of the woman that they were with before. And so they go out there into the new world and they're trying to, get their physical needs met. And then they end up coming back because they realize that it's a lot harder than what they thought it was. So reason number 6 is because he misses feeling good. So he leaves the relationship, right? And there's some parts of the relationship that are nostalgic, which is usually what happens after a breakup with anybody. Is a lot of times you look back and you're like, well, it sucked at this point, but there was this one point where we were both together and everything was great. And we looked at each other in the eyes and there's so much love between us. And I miss that, but there's this also painful part. And if the part of being together that they had with you was great, supersedes or takes over the ideas and times that they had with you that were bad, they may come back because he remembers the good times that he felt. And so he wants to come back to you. And so these are times when he felt validated, or times when he felt connected or loved, or times when he felt like he was important, times when he felt like somebody wanted him, or he was needed by you, or, you accepted him into your life, or any of those kinds of things like that. If he felt any of that stuff with you and he leaves you and then realizes that he's not really getting that source of validation outside of you, a lot of guys will end up coming back just for that validation and acceptance and love and feeling important and special and different. And so that's reason number 6. So reason number 5 is because he's super invested. So he's scared to lose you because he's put in so much time and energy and effort into the relationship and the situation. And this is actually one of the reasons why a lot of people stay in abusive or hurtful or manipulative situations and relationships, is because they've invested so much. And there's actually a principle out there, and it's called the sunk cost principle. And it has to do with how much you put into something. And the more you put into something, the more that you feel like you don't want to lose that. The more you feel like you're invested. And this is why it's so important that a man is investing in you. Not because you want to be, manipulative and hurtful and treat him like garbage or anything like that, but because the more invested he is in you, the more likely he is to forgive your flaws, to forgive kind of the problems and challenges and things that are going on between the two of you, right? The more invested he is, the more that he values you because of the investment principle. And so a lot of times guys will feel so invested that they'll come back because they're like, man, I put so much into this, and emotionally and psychologically, they feel like they don't want to lose you because of how much they've invested into you from an emotional, time, energy, and effort standpoint. So reason number four is that it's because he didn't end up finding someone better. And so a lot of times guys they've got like this grass is greener thought process about, there's somebody else out there, or there's something out there that's better, or maybe they're even connected to somebody who they think is better, and things are dull or painful in your relationship. And so they're like, things are going to be so much better over there. And then they go over there and they realize that it's a lot more difficult over there than they thought it was going to be, that it's not as interesting, it's not better over there. And so, he thought that he'd find someone better by being single, or maybe he might have found somebody that he thought was better and went to them. And then he found out that they actually clash more. And then reality kicked in, and he's not nearly as big of a stud or a player as he thought he had fantasized in his mind, right? It's not as easy for him to find a woman as he thought it would be. And women aren't nearly as attracted to him as he thought. And he starts realizing that what he had with you was actually pretty good. And then he ends up coming back, hoping that you're going to let him in, bound to the regret of his previous decision that he had to leave. And he finds out that the grass isn't always greener somewhere else, like our minds tend to tell us that it is. So reason number three is that it's because he wants to feel in control of his life. So one of the human needs that we have, one of the deep emotional needs that all of us have, is this wanting to have this sense of security, wanting to feel like you're comfortable with what is going on. And when you're in a relationship, things can get really comfortable, right? So a lot of times, like at the beginning of a relationship, everything's new and passionate, and you guys are in love, and you're like, oh, everything's wonderful, right? And then you stop doing a lot of the things that you were doing. You stop creating that excitement and all that stuff, and things start to flatline, and then you're like really bored and really comfortable, and you're like, oh, this is so boring, I want to go to something else. And then he leaves, and then it's so chaotic there, and he's not sure if he can find somebody else, and he's not sure what's going on. And he remembers you, and he remembers how good things were and how comfortable things were, and he goes back to it. Because we all have this duality, right? This duality of one side of things needs to be comfortable and in control and feel like we have kind of this sense of comfort and security and certainty there. And then there's this other side where we want things to be passionate and interesting, and, things to be exciting, and, uncertainty, variety, all that kind of stuff, right? And so, a lot of times guys will leave and they'll come back because there's too much kind of uncertainty over here, or they originally left because there was too much comfort and too much boringness, and then they leave and there's way too much, excitement and not enough feeling like he's in control. So reason number two is because you fulfill his emotional needs, not just the one of security and comfort, but also when he goes and he tried to go to somebody else, or maybe he went solo, the lonely route, right? And he noticed that the fundamental and primal emotional needs that he has were no longer being met, because you met a lot of those needs, right? You met his needs of feeling like he was, comfortable with you, but also, there's some excitement and passion there. He felt like, there was, he was, important and significant and different and really great to you. He felt like, he got his love and connection and different emotional needs met from you. And so when he left, all of a sudden, maybe the new woman that he went to wasn't fulfilling those needs like you did, or, going and being alone, all of a sudden he wasn't getting those needs met at all. And so he was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get these emotional needs met without you. So he ends up coming back to you in order to get those emotional needs met again through you. And basically he's emotionally addicted to you, which can be a good or bad thing, right? It's again, it's one of those things why a lot of people go back to like kind of manipulative or hurtful or abusive relationships, because they're getting their needs met through that relationship. And so from one standpoint, it's really good because he doesn't want to leave you. But from another standpoint, I mean, there's a whole bunch of other problems, right? Because he left, right? He's showing you this pattern that he has of leaving you. And so that's that. And then number one, the number one reason is that you are letting him come back to you, right? The question isn't always why men come back, but why do you let them in? So women who say, like, I get women a lot of times, like I was talking about earlier, who say that they want to leave this guy, they break up with this guy, but he always comes back and he won't let her leave, right? Or he won't let her leave. And so, you need to, if you're in one of those kinds of situations, you need to make sure that you're taking ownership of your life and what's going on, right? He doesn't get to dictate if you are going to be with him or whether you're going to be with somebody else or be alone or be away from him. And so you need to not allow yourself to be a victim and instead take ownership of who you allow into your life, because it's one of the most important decisions that you make in your life. And I'm not one of those people that says that you should never let a guy come back. I mean, I was actually talking to this men's dating coach a couple of days ago, and he was like, in 100% of all cases, every time, you should never, ever go back to somebody that you weren't with before. And I'm not one of those people. I don't believe that. I mean, 100% of the time, like, what's 100% in psychology or relationships ever? And that's never ever the case. I think that there's plenty of cases where it's okay. But if a guy does come back and you are going to let him back in, you need to make him earn you back. That's my suggestion, is that you don't just let a guy disappear and come back and disappear and come back or any of that kind of stuff just because you're feeling lonely and you want to have that attention or whatever. Instead, make him invest in you, right? Get him investing, get him doing things, get him changing stuff, get him being a better man for you and creating a better relationship for you. And make him invest from a time, energy, effort, and emotional standpoint in order to be with you. Make him prove to you that he is going to be a better partner for you this time. Make him show you with effort that he really wants you to be in his life. And don't settle for anything less than that. So, all right, so I'm going to go over the different things one more time. The 7 are The first one, or the seventh one, is because he misses the physical benefits. The sixth one is because he misses feeling good. The fifth one is that it's because he's invested already. The fourth one is because he didn't find someone better. The third one is because he wants to feel in control of his life. The second one is because you fulfill his emotional needs. And the first one is because you're letting him come back.